Have you ever seen one of these before? Maybe you have, but I'm sure it wasn't in this context, because normally you don't see them in somebody's bedroom. They're not supposed to be worn there. I just wanted to show you what I'm going to talk about. Normally you see them in a church, an adoration chapel, anything like that. They're called veils, chapel veils, or mantillas, and I've been wearing them since middle school. Now, we're obviously going to be talking about what it is, so I'm just going to launch into it. Okay, so I started wearing them in middle school, mostly because my little sister started wearing them because my aunt wore them, and I was like, well, she looks more holy than I do, so I don't want to get left behind on this. So you can see how pure I was as a little middle schooler. But so I started wearing this to mass, and I kind of had an idea that it was connected to Eucharist. I was like, well, we wear it at mass; it must have something to do with Jesus. And so that was kind of just like my life as a middle schooler. I knew I wore it because of Jesus, but that was about it. And then I left homeschooling and went to a private school, Catholic private school. But even at a Catholic private school, most people don't veil. It's not exact. It's still not, it's definitely becoming more common, but it's not super common practice, especially if you didn't grow up with it. And of course, people come from all different types of backgrounds at schools. So I started going to school, and of course, I'm the only one who veils. Like, the only student who veils. There's one other teacher who veils, but that was it. That was my freshman year of high school, and so I stick out like a sore thumb at all of these, at all school masses, and even at daily mass. I would stick out like a sore thumb. I felt super awkward. It's like, okay, is this actually worth it? Is it worth sticking out like a sore thumb, being really awkward, to wear this lacy thing on my head? And so, of course, then I started, like, okay, why do I wear this? Okay, so there are 3 main reasons, and then there'll be one kind of more personal reason that you should veil. And clearly, these 3 reasons for me were convincing enough because I more or less consistently, I'm not perfect, but more or less consistently wore the veil all throughout high school, and now I go to a college where veiling is normal, which makes me so happy. Now we're going to get into the 3 main reasons why you should veil. Now, I say why you should veil. It's not a mandatory practice anymore. It has fallen away after Vatican II. Vatican II did not say take away the veils. It just stopped happening as a common practice. If you consider all the other stuff that's going on in the 60s and 70s, you can probably see why, especially after why I tell you the reasons why we do veil. Okay, but I'm going to tell you why it's a good idea, and you can take it or leave it. But you should do it. It's awesome. Okay, but main reasons are Jesus is present in the Eucharist, veiling what is sacred, and the symbolism of the bride of Christ. And then there's another reason that I'll tell you at the end that's more of just like, this is why I also like veiling. Okay, number 1, Jesus is present in the Eucharist. What is the Eucharist? It's God incarnate, okay? Hello. And so this is what, and so linking on that, it's God incarnate, present right in front of you, and what links off of that is humility before God. Now, if you look at this, St. Paul says that a woman's, the hair is women's glory in 1 Corinthians 10 or 11, I forget which one, but, like, we love our hair. It's like so much fun to play with it, so much fun to do all our hairdos, whatever. Kind of causes stress sometimes, but women love our hair. When you put this on, covers it up. It's humility by saying, but I'm not going to show off my fancy hairdo. We're going to focus on God, and we're going to worship Him. That's what Mass is about. And that's why we're here. We're not here to start looking at each other's hairdos and outfits. And then number 2 is we veil what is sacred. In Genesis, when Moses was talking on the mountain with God, like getting the 10 Commandments and everything, his face was just so shining because he had seen God and he was so holy, and so he had to veil his face because the Israelites were kind of scared of him. So we veil what is sacred by saying, look, there's mystery here. And I think women are mysterious. We know this. We're mysterious creatures, and that's just kind of a funny way of saying it. But women have this dignity because we bear life, and because all our bodies are, man and women, bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, but women in particular, because we can bear life, we have this, I don't want to say additional dignity, but it's kind of special. We're special, and by veiling, we're saying like there is something hidden or something mysterious here that is just between me and God, and we're not necessarily gonna like put ourselves out there. Reason number 3, it's one of my personal favorites. So we humans, we're body and soul. We but like focusing on the body part, we love like touching stuff. We love concrete stuff. Like we love our like Catholics. Catholics are really good at this. We love all of our touch things. We love our rosaries. We love our crucifixes. We love all these things that we can touch because we're human and we like being able to feel things. We love the nitty-gritty aspect of the human person and human nature. And so the veil is a concrete reminder of what the reality of the Mass is. The reality of the Mass is the wedding feast of the Lamb. The bridegroom comes to meet his bride, Jesus comes to meet his church, and it's a wedding feast. That's what the Mass is. And so what does the bride do at a wedding? She has a veil on. And so when women put this on, of course, like this one's white, but you can get like lots of different colors, lots of different styles. There's a link below if you want to like look into it or anything like that. But when women veil, it's just a concrete reminder for us and other people that this thing that's happening right now, it's serious. This is a wedding feast, so act like it and respect it, and just remember the beauty of what's actually happening. And then the last reason is more of, it's not like one of these theological reasons or anything like that. It's more of a personal thing of just people, it's becoming more popular, like I said, but people don't know what this is. They see somebody wearing this at Mass, like, what the heck is going on? What is that? Why are you wearing it? Blah, blah, blah. Are you like some nun or something like that? Actually, funny story. I'll tell you at the end. So people ask, not everybody, but like people ask, my classmates in high school would ask, sometimes when I go on retreats, people would ask, like, why are you wearing that thing? And so I get to explain what I just told you, usually in shorter format, because people aren't always going to listen for 5 or 10 minutes about what exactly a veil is. If you made it through this video this far, good job. But people, I get to tell them why. Catholics don't understand the Mass anymore. It was a Pew study came out, it was like only a third of Catholics actually believe in the real presence, which is so heartbreaking. And so I get to tell them what I just told you, and I get to evangelize, and I get to say, here, this is what the reality of the Mass is, and this is why it's so awesome. And then the veil is kind of just a secondary thing. And so it gives me an opportunity to evangelize and to tell people what exactly is so awesome about the Mass. And that story that I said I was going to tell you, this happened earlier this year. It was like in May or something. So at Mass, I'm at my parish, like the parish that I normally go to, but it's a Friday morning, because I didn't have school that day, and so it was after the first Mass, and it was getting ready for the school Mass that happened, because there's a school connected to my parish, a grade school. And so they're getting ready for their Mass, but it's after Mass, and I'm just praying lauds, whatever, chilling, minding my own business. And I think it was like second grade came in. And they all start lining up there. Some of them are going to confession, some of them are just sitting in the pew. They're second graders, so they're not really focusing or praying or anything. They're just kind of fumbling around in the pew. And I am just sitting like 3 rows behind them, praying. And one of the girls looks back at me, and a little girl, a little boy look back at me, and I'm wearing my veil, and they give me the weirdest look ever. And they're just like, what the heck is that person? And then I'm just like, this is hilarious. And I keep praying, and then another little boy looks back, and I'm just like, this is hysterical. And I just smiled at them and kept praying, and then I eventually left. And going off of that, like, you're gonna stick out and be awkward if you do this. But it's only gonna be awkward as long as people aren't doing it. And if women start doing it again, like, the more people who do it, the less awkward it is, obviously. I remember this kind of has to do with veiling, but I remember my freshman year, it was really hard. It was very hard to veil. I wasn't always consistent. I am like 99% consistent now. It was very hard to stay consistent, and also another thing that I do is I kneel when I receive communion. And I remember, like, thinking, I don't want to stick out, I don't want to draw attention to myself, this looks really awkward, I don't want to be goody two-shoes, especially, this particular story is, like, the first mass I had at my new school. And after mass, my dad asked, "Hey, Julia, did you kneel for communion?" And I hadn't, because I was like, this is too awkward, I can't do it. He said, "You know what, I was thinking the same thing during mass, like, should I kneel, should I not, I don't want to draw attention to myself." And he said, "You know, we think that not kneeling is, so we don't draw attention to myself, is an act of humility, but it's really not, it's more of pride, it's saying that it's focusing on me. When really, the real humility comes from kneeling and saying, it's not about me, it's about God, and I don't want to draw attention to myself, but I'm not drawing attention to myself by kneeling. I'm drawing attention to Christ, and I'm drawing attention to the fact that He is the center of my life and He's the most important thing. And so by kneeling to receive communion, by veiling, I know it's hard, and it feels really, like, it's hilarious because it's a sign of humility, but you also draw so much attention to yourself, even though, well, less people pay attention to you than you actually think. But just keep that in mind if you do decide. If you have any questions, I am totally willing to answer them. Just put them in the comments below. There's also more resources underneath in the description if you want to look into it. But just consider it. It's really awesome. I love it. It's, like I said, it's very tangible feeling, and it's cool because just, like, I get to belong to the cool club that veils. I mean, not if you don't veil, you're not in the cool club, but, like, if you want to be, like, it's cool that it's really awesome when you're at some random place, and it's like, those of course are the hardest places to veil at, where it's like, I'm visiting and I have no idea if somebody else is going to be veiling or not. That's when it's the hardest. You do veil at this random place, and then you see somebody else who veils, and then it's just like this immediate connection, because, like, hey, we're in this awkwardness together, man. Like, I've had that experience that it was a youth rally, and those are the hardest because those are the least places you're going to find it at youth rallies. But I remember coming back from communion, I saw another girl who was veiling, and we just gave each other this look, and I was like, yes, totally nailed that one. So yeah, anyway, it's really fun. Not fun, but, like, it's awesome just thinking about the reality of what exactly it symbolizes. So yep, that's what I got for you about veiling. Have fun with that. But get holy and have fun doing it. Oh, I forgot to mention another side benefit is the fact that you don't have to brush your hair every morning if you veil. Just putting it out there.